political side, Mr. Ben Ray Lujan is doing a terrific job. Our recruitment team is a very, shall we say, hardworking. I don't want to say aggressive, but they're hardworking, and some people are self-recruiting. So there have to be evaluations about which races are the ones we would prioritize where the candidate is a match for the district. And that's really important. That's really important. And so, of course, we have our dynamic within the party. But again, we probably are be participating in maybe 75 or more races. We just need to win 24. I feel very optimistic about it. But I can't talk too much more. It probably has to be a small percentage of the meeting. We could go down the street. Yes?
If the Senate does pass a skinny repeal, it's not really expected to get much traction as a skinny repeal in the House. It seems like that would be more of a vehicle to go to a conference committee. I'm wondering if you will have Democrats participate in a conference committee and who you intend to appoint to it. Will be your rankers that were all up here last week with you, or do you have a broader strategy to get some younger voices?
Well, first of all, we want to defeat the skinny repeal because, as some have said, this is the worst of all of their suggestions. So who's going to be on the conference committee is a little bit of a not near a concern that I have. The concern I have is that they pass a bill that is going to have millions of people lose their health insurance, costs to go up, benefits to go down, and they call it skinny. Huge cost for the American people. And so two options can happen. One is that they try to ram it through the House, that just send over the skinny repeal, or they then send it to conference. What we have been talking about all along is let's have a conference. We had a conference on the health care bill when we passed it before, and let's have that be the regular order, Democrats and Republicans at the table in full view, on C-SPAN, in the public view, as to what that debate is about. And that's called the regular order, and that's what Senator McCain was talking about. That depending on what they do, if they decide they're just going to take it up on the House side and send it to the president's desk, I doubt they could pass it. But that's one option. The other is to go to conference. No, I haven't, but I will say in praise of our ranking members, they know, as do I, chapter and verse, what the opportunities are and the rest, and I think they would have to be at the table because their committees are the committees of jurisdiction that are affected by the bill. Do you have any other ideas?
No, I was just curious if, I know that in the Senate there's been some Republicans that have, made a play to leadership that they want to be a part of the conference committee should it advance to that. I'm wondering if you're receiving the same pressure from your ranks.
No. I mean, our energy is focused on defeating their bill. And let me sing the praises again of the outside groups. Last night we had a big Planned Parenthood rally, and they're trying to have another resolution to defund Planned Parenthood in the Senate, I don't know if that holds up from a parliamentary standpoint, but it is their relentless pursuit to deny women the decisions over the size and timing of their families and to access to full reproductive health care. So in any event, thank you to the outside mobilization. So many families here with children with disabilities pleading their case, telling their story. So many people here talking about what it means to them and their families economically to have health security. The stories have been the most eloquent statement to, I think, persuade some of the senators to do the right thing. Let's see. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Leader Pelosi. I wanted to ask about what led up to yesterday's announcement from President Trump on the ban on transgender serving in the military. So apparently rank and file conservatives within the House went to the White House and said they could not support it was unlikely to get the support needed for the wall, for the security, unless there was restrictions on gender reincitement care. I wanted to ask, is that extraordinary? Is that the sort of thing that, as a speaker, as a leader, that you encourage or would take exception to within your caucus? And is that a sign of a lot of friction within the caucus?
Well, in terms of, I don't know, I've just learned from you that such a meeting may have occurred. What was more curious to me than that is that, because I don't, I take you at your word, you heard that happened, I didn't. But what was curious to me was that the administration is now saying that LGBTQ, members of the LGBTQ community are not covered by the Civil Rights Act. Therefore, then it would follow, we can discriminate against them. Yesterday, just imagine this, July 26th, 1948, 69 years ago from yesterday, President Truman desegregated the armed service, integrated the armed services. It didn't mean that African Americans weren't serving our country, but there was segregation, and he integrated the armed service. That was a great day for America. Fast forward, on that very same day, the president, without apparent consultation with the Joint Chiefs or the Pentagon, tweeted, maybe as a result of that meeting you're talking about, or maybe as a result of I don't know what, his thought that they could be discriminated against, comes out and tweets that 14 to 15,000 patriotic Americans who want to serve our country are fired. It's appalling. It's appalling, the disrespect, the lack of acknowledgement of the contribution these people make. That's one thing. But to deal with it in a manner that was undignified, unworthy of these people, unworthy of the office of Commander-in-Chief. And so the fact that they then say it's justified because they're not covered by the Civil Rights Act, well, let's open up that Civil Rights Act. We have a bill. It's called the Equality Act. David Cicilline is the sponsor. We have scores of people, even some Republicans, who support that. And let's include them in the protections of the Civil Rights Act if, in fact, that is the justification for the president's action. But just to go a little more history, when we had this vote on the floor and we won, the vote on the floor on this bill, we won, the Republicans gave the impression to us that they were going to, you win, that's it. And then what did they do? But want to tuck it in a rule so that it would be so that, last time when we had a bill about LGBT in the military, it was about contracting, and they changed votes, and they were embarrassed by it. So they said, we're not going to do that again. So now what do? Go to the president and go to the Rules Committee and have a provision in the rule that now we're hoping to get rid of that too, but we don't know, we'll see. But it's really shameful. It's really shameful. And again, our country's always been about expanding opportunity, expanding freedom. President Obama, one of the first bills he signed was Lilly Ledbetter, which, by the way, opened up the Civil Rights Act. Lilly Ledbetter bill did. That was the first bill he signed to expand opportunity for women in the workplace. One of the last bills he signed with us in the majority was the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, expanding opportunity. Women in the workplace, others, Don't Ask, Don't Tell in the military. And now we have this backward, embarrassing step, which we'll find out, but apparently the Joint Chiefs had no knowledge of, and the Pentagon was at that very time, I am told, meeting on the implementation of the trans community participating in the military. It's a really very sad thing. It's a very sad thing. Yes. Okay, let me.
I have a question about California water. What is your solution?
Did you see him coming with this?
Good time. What is your solution to get
This
Central Valley?
California water?
What is your solution to get Central Valley farmers more water? I know you and most of the Democratic delegation from California voted against HR 23, Save Jim Costa. So what's your solution to get these farmers more water?
So you were going to ask a question about the water situation in California?
Yes, I'm a reporter from Fresno, and we want
Yeah,
to
we
know.
think that there is obviously a way to do it. And first of all, thank you, God, that we had so much more precipitation this year, and that has gotten people. The bill passed. The Feinstein Amendment passed. You recall?
Right.
That bill passed in the bill. So that became the law. I did not support it. I was with Senator Boxer on the subject, but it passed. It's the law. We'll move on from there, and it rained. And now we have to deal with issues that everybody has to deal with. We have to deal with conservation. We have to deal with aquifers and how we perhaps even desalination. I mean, every time we almost get to that point, it rains and people say it's too expensive, let's save it for later. But so many storage, conservation, storage.
Would you support the Temperance Flat Dam? in
Excuse
Fresno?
me?
Would you support funding for the Temperance Flat Dam in Fresno County?
No, the issue of dams is something that is a much bigger issue than just shout-outs at some of these kinds of meetings. And there's some dams that some of our members support and some dams that they don't in California. And what we want to do is to not violate the Endangered Species Act as one of our criteria for dams and others. Make sure that we have the water that we need to grow our crops, to have the jobs that we need, to do so in a way that is fair to the entire state of California. So I'm not going into individual dams. Yes, ma'am.
Have you talked to Congressman Brady about the criminal investigation into his 2012 campaign? And do you think that damages the image of House Democrats in any way, given that last year Congressman Fatah resigned after being convicted of corruption?
No, I know that Congressman Brady is fully cooperating with authorities and that he has done nothing wrong. But I have not had a conversation with him. No. Okay, so see you after the summer. Maybe we'll see each other in the next day if something happens in the Senate side on the very important issue of the health and well-being of the American people. But I do wish you rest up, because when you come back, it's going to be big. Our people over the break will be listening on the a better deal. They will be continuing to give venues for people to tell their stories about health care and conveying those messages to the Congress of the United States, depending on what venue we're talking about, whether it's the conference committee or maybe they just won't pass the skinny bill and we can start from scratch in developing legislation for the health and well-being of the American people. We have a very exciting time ahead of us. Get back to your political point. We are at we're in a much better place now than we were in 2005 in terms of our attempt to win the Congress. And elections are about a couple things. They're about who wins, and the other thing they're about is, do the American people win in terms of the debate? Is it clear? Does it have clarity as to what the different positions are? And will they know that clarity so they can hold us, whoever we are, Democrats or Republicans, accountable? So in addition to our initiative for a better deal, and included in it is an initiative that we introduced here under leadership of John Sarbanes and so many others, with our DARE. Disclose, where does all this dark money come from? Amend the Constitution to overturn Citizens United. Reform the campaign laws to facilitate the participation of small donors in a stronger way, and empower in these measures of voter suppression that are out there. We keep hearing a cry for a paper ballot so that people have confidence in the outcome of the election. But one thing we know for sure, we can do much better for America's working families if we can reduce the role of special interest, dark money, in the political process. So we're working on that during the break as well. Have a good break. Thank you.
Thank you.
I haven't been to Ryan in a while.